Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Handhelds. I'm Joey, and today we're going to take a quick look at retro gaming on tablets with this beast of a thing. Obviously on my channel, we talk a lot about retro handhelds, obviously, because they're surrounding me. And so I don't really do a lot on telescopic controllers like this GameSir X2S or tablet gaming like this Lenovo M11 that we're talking about today. Kind of stuck to just the retro handhelds, but ever so often I do get asked, hey, do you want to review this controller, this tablet, that sort of thing? And decided to do it this time because it's been a while. So wanted to take a look at tablet retro gaming for the people that play like this. I wanted to see what my thoughts might be on doing the same thing and if this might be good, if it's comfortable, and just overall. So that's the reason for today's video. So usual disclaimer here, Lenovo sent me this M11 tablet for review, but as usual, they have no input in what I say and they haven't seen this video ahead of time. I bought the X2S, so that was not sent for review. This tablet here is pretty interesting. It's 11 inches with a 1900 by 1200 resolution, which is a 16 by 10 aspect ratio, the same as the Steam Deck. Meaning that for a lot of our favorite retro games, running at 4x3, they look really great here, because there's a lot more vertical space to work with. It's honestly just a win for emulation across the board. But on top of that, for those that want to do more than emulation, maybe some game streaming with Moonlight, this has a 90Hz refresh rate. All of this is backed by the MediaTek Helio G88. Now, the G88 is less performant than the upcoming ZPG A1 Unicorn or the KTR1, and it's kind of less performant than the Retroid Pocket 4 base and the RG556. It's very similar to like a T618, an RG405M, that sort of range. So that puts the performance as basically some Nintendo 64, some Sega Dreamcast, and all of the systems under, as you're going to see later. Currently, it's kind of a struggle for GameCube and PSP and Wii and PS2 and all of that. My model here is the 8GB RAM model with 128GB of internal storage, which is fairly standard. There's a massive 7040 mAh battery, which has just been great, and battery has not been a concern at all for about $200 right now. Now, I don't really have to explain what a tablet is, right? It's a tablet for watching media consumption and all of that. So it has the Netflix HD certification. You can put Plex on here and play all of your favorite movies and TV shows. You can do everything that you normally do with a tablet, read comics and all of that. But today we're going to focus on gaming as well as retro gaming. First up, thanks to the Anbernic RG556 for now having me test every single device I get in for streaming to see if it would work out. And this is a bit of a weird one because the decoding latency is higher than normally you'd want, which I'm going to chalk up to maybe the older Wi-Fi 5 chip in here, but the input and latency feels just fine. It's weird to hold something like this that's so big and play modern games on it. It takes some getting used to, but that 90Hz refresh rate is great for streaming like this, even if the Wi-Fi chip isn't that great. Going to consider this a bonus, but it's a little weird that the decoding latency is so high, but the games actually feel good. Then let's take a look at some native Android games here, and my usual test case is Dead Cells. Not unexpected, Dead Cells actually plays really great here, and I had no issues, and plus it looks awesome on this 11-inch screen, so that's all good. Then I pulled up Horizon Chase, and that can run on a potato, and this is better than a potato, so looks great, plays great, no issues here. Those are kind of the only two Android games that I really ever play with, so seems like it's just fine. There's a lot to enjoy here, and I think games look nice and crisp on this tablet, especially thanks to the 16 by 10 aspect ratio. Jumping into PSP and testing it out, God of War Chains of Olympus is usually my test bench game for any PSP testing. We're at 2x resolution, Vulkan backend, and it's right on the cusp of being full speed. There's enough small dips and crackling that affect your enjoyment, but reducing the resolution or some other hacks would likely get you to full speed. Now, I wouldn't buy this for PSP specifically, but you could play a bunch of the catalog here knowing these limits. Jumping over to GameCube with Dolphin, And starting with F0 GX, native resolution, most all hacks enabled, and it just didn't run well. Even without hacks, I had trouble getting this to run well, so it just seems like it doesn't like the G88 for whatever reason. Jumping into Super Smash Bros. Melee, and there's just enough stutter that it's not a great experience. It's super weird, as I've used the G99 before with a lot better experience than this, but it seems like the G88 is way far behind. I think after seeing all of this, we're going to drop back to Nintendo 64 and under, and just take a look at how those play. Mario Tennis is always my benchmark game for Nintendo 64, because if it runs, everything runs. Using M64 Plus FZ here as the emulator, and I tried out a bunch of different emulation profiles, but this is using the Rice Accurate profile, and Mario Tennis runs decently, but there's graphical issues. It was the same across any emulation profile that I tried to use, so it's kind of playable in the double quote sense, but maybe not, although the majority of N64 is going to run great on this tablet. Dreamcast is the last test here, and checking out Crazy Taxi, using the Flycast core in RetroArch. I have to mute it because every time I play this game, Offspring sends me a copyright notice and then I get in trouble. So if you're wondering why no sound is playing, it's because it's muted, but I can tell you that it's playing great. There's no issues with sound or stutters or things like that. So Crazy Taxi on its own at least is playing well, and that means that most Dreamcast games are probably going to play well on here. Don't think you'll have an issue with them. Let's talk a little bit about my setup here, and I talked about it in the intro, but I have the GameSir X2S, which you kind of have to like mini break to get it to expand out like this. You have to kind of break it and pull it apart, and then obviously the M11 is right inside of it. And it's a little unwieldy. Like, I think for most people, you'd probably be fine. But I mean, this isn't... I feel like I'm one sneeze away from just everything falling apart and then just having a bad time because it's going to be all in pieces. That's kind of how it is. And it's not exactly held together tightly. It's very much hopes and dreams because with the way this controller is, it's kind of sitting in a weird little spot. It's bent. It's a weird thing, and especially even the connector where the USB-C is, it feels weird. It feels like I'm gonna break every single thing with just one wrong move. Okay, so overall, my thoughts on the tablet are, I think for $200 US, you get a lot of good here. A nice screen, nice refresh rate, decent power, at least for emulation. I think mostly it's gonna be a media consumption device with some little retro gaming if you wanted to, but streaming seems to be decent at least, and all that sort of thing. So it seems to be just kind of a decent option. Think of it as like a bigger RG405M or a bigger Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, because it's kind of have that same power, just without controls, obviously, because you have to add them on, but kind of consider it that way. Now, as far as retro gaming with a tablet in this sort of setup, I don't think I changed my mind at all with today's video. Throughout my testing, throughout my playing, it just was not for me. It's kind of too, I don't know what the word for it, too held together by hopes and dreams, too duct tape and cardboard, too weird for me, I think, put it that way. I much prefer just a one connected setup as opposed to this, but I'm guessing a lot of people who like this sort of setup would be fine with this combination of things. The scary part about all of this is when you have to take it apart. So let's do that here. It all falls apart completely. And yeah, so this is what I mean about completely broken. You have to like push it in and that's gonna hurt. And then you pull it back out and you kind of have to like bend it and go like that. It's very much a weird sort of thing, but that's what you have to do to get this setup working. But anyways, that's going to be it for this one. Don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow. Come join me on the Discord and make fun of me for setting this up and trying this. Support me on Patreon if you like my videos. Other than that, hope you all have a good one and see you next time.